and welcome to another episode of My Two Cent. My name is Paul Emerson, I'll be giving you my 2 cents. Today's topic is going to be alphanumeric. And I'll probably spell numeric wrong. It's not really relevant. I mean, if you want to comment in the bottom and be like, hey Emerson, you spelled it wrong. I personally am a terrible speller, compounded by the fact that we invented spell checks in computers, which means that the computers will autocorrect anything that you spell. So I became more dependent on the spell check search engine than I did on actually remembering how to spell. Because in school, I was not taught phonics. I was taught memorization of words because my teachers were either impressed by my ability to remember everything or racist and didn't want to teach me how to actually use phonics. So it was one of those two. I digress. Alphanumeric. So what is alphanumeric? Alphanumeric is the foundation of what's going to become my 2 cents as a actual principle. I don't know what the word is yet. I'll come up with that later. So basically, in science and in life, everything is built on a proof. A proof is something which is self-evaluating to show proof. Self-evaluating to show that it is true. I have a bottle of water. The reason why we accept that this is a bottle of water and not a bottle of tea, not a bottle of gasoline or anything else, is because the proofs of the bottle and the proofs of the liquid water has been built in us since birth. Well, not since birth, but since we started our education system. Since we were born on this planet and began education, we built our understanding around proofs. It is our proofs that we check every day to reinforce our reasoning and our understanding, which shape our continued development and educational growth. At work today, I wrote something that I was thinking of, because I think a lot. And I usually think philosophically and not religiously. And I'll make the difference between religion and philosophy maybe in another video. Humanity is the embodiment of understanding limited to experience, defined by character. That is as close to a definition of what I believe a human being is that I can ever portray in words based on just what I just read. We are born. I have notes here for some other structure, how to basically structure this video. So we are born in this world ignorant. We spend our entire lives learning, whether we do it deliberately or non-deliberate. As we learn and grow, it shapes who we are, it shapes our understanding. And as our understanding is shaped and as who we are shaped, the type of decisions and actions that we will be comfortable with engaging in is also shaped. And it's from those values that the foundation of our educational system, our society, our relationships, everything is built upon. And it is in that my 2 cents is the reason why my 2 cents is coming into fruition. It's the reason why I want to start my 2 cents basically, because you grow up in a world and you're told certain things and you're shown certain values and you don't understand why this is one way but the expectation is another way, and it gets frustrating and it gets old. And your goal just in the grand scheme of education, if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to evolve, then all of these other values associated with our education system and principles of understanding infringe on that. If I want to understand more about myself, and then I have to go to school and sit down and take African American studies and then be taught that I am the descendant of over 400 generations of slavery, it reflects on who I am. And then if I live in a society that gives me proofs every day that, oh, you have no culture, oh, you have no this, oh, you have no that, then that's going to create the type of egos that you see in the average African American. And then if I am a Caucasian that lives in a totally different spectrum of reality, then it's going to create the type of conflicts that we see between the ideological race lines. And it's because of these isms and these issues, the reason behind the desire to create my 2 cents. I didn't create my 2 cents to argue and fight and, show people that I'm super intelligent. I'm a human being. I'm just as flawed as everyone else in the world. But I have a natural talent, a natural affinity for reasoning and understanding. And the most important thing is that everyone has a natural talent for reasoning and understanding. What I'm highly proficient at in life, two of the most proficient things that I do very well in life, is I am patient and accepting. And those are 2 things that I embody better than anyone else that I've ever met in life. And the thing that frustrates me about religion is that I embody patience and acceptance better than God's. And that's the thing that pisses people off about me. Because you go learn about your gods, but when you encounter Emerson or Paul, you see the embodiment of patience. And the other word I just used because I'm getting old. You see those 2 values a lot more than you do in religious texts. The reason why is because the texts are only meant to educate from a position of your unknown fears and anxieties. And that's not necessary with education. Science teaches us without the need for fear. When I say that I am a scientist, it means that I come from a position of neutrality and bias free, from a position of neutrality and without bias. Most people don't understand that because you believe that being a scientist is to be understanding. The average person thinks that science means I understand. Science doesn't mean you understand because you can believe that you understand. I call that ignorance. Ignorance is the ability to make decisions from a position of not knowing. It is part of the spectrum of being a human being that we are able to function without knowing. You can go outside and encounter something new for the first time and react to it accordingly from ignorance. That is not anything other than the fact that you are a human being. Your ability to function does not require you to have pre-knowledge of an event. Because like the example with the bottle and the water, everything that we do is built on proofs. So every action we take in life is built on those proofs. And then we continue to add to those proofs. When you are a biased person, you change your proofs to fit your profile for who you think you want to be or how you think you actually are. But nature shows you something different. And it is through nature that we aspire to define God, not through anything other than nature. We look around and we say, I wonder what God is. What is this thing we call nature? And from this thing, what is responsible from this thing? Like, why is this thing, all of this, here? It is from that we say, oh, the answer to that is God. Because we don't know. We don't know. We really honestly don't know. But we say, God. So, if I was to go to the store and I wanted to get a book, and I walk up to the cashier and I say, hey, I'm looking for this book. The cashier can actually say, oh, it's over there next to God. And they wouldn't be wrong, right? Because the culture that we live in, that's the absoluteness of God. The absoluteness of the correct answer to any question with one value. And that's why I don't like God. That's why I don't like religion. Because there's an answer to your question if you spend the time required to actually go seek it out. So with all that rambling and philosophizing at the beginning of this video, I'm going to say these values so that they're in the video so that I can build on top of my actual or my premise, I think is what it's called. So I covered the fact that we are born. Oh, okay. So, um, I mentioned that we're born ignorant, right? So there's two spectrums from which I want to speak. And the way these spectrums is going to work is that human beings are logical and illogical. We are a spectrum of logic and illogicness. We are born ignorant and we spend our lives becoming knowledgeable. The ability to utilize knowledge, not understanding, not reasoning, but the capacity from which we are able to apply our knowledge is called wisdom. Experience is a form of knowledge, and it is through our experience that we are able to apply our knowledge. So when you have knowledge, when you have understanding, your ability to utilize that knowledge and understanding is called experience, because that's a proof. You know, you say, I say, this is a sheet of paper. For all of you out there in the digital world that have never seen one of these or experienced one of these, you have gained knowledge. But when you go for your first time and you pick up a sheet of paper, you have gained experience. And it is from those two. Like, let's say that this is your first time ever seeing a sheet of paper, right? So you're like, oh, I'm knowledgeable about paper. But let's say later you go get a sheet of paper. You say, oh, I have prior knowledge of this, but now that I have it, now I have experience of it. Sometimes they're the same exact thing. Sometimes your experience is also the foundation of your knowledge. But it is through the fact that you know the principles of paper. You can crumple it up, you can fold it, you can make airplanes out of it, you can use it to write, you can use it to, do all types of different things. You can make the walls a different color with it. That is experience. And from that, you are able to be wise. When you find a sheet of paper, your experience, unless you say, oh, these are all of the ways that I can utilize this, that is my wisdom. So, rambling. Sometimes I ramble. I'm sorry. That's what I do. So, alphanumeric. I wrote it alphanumeric because that's usually what African Americans do. I'm going to get away from that eventually, but we like to make things greater than they really are. That comes from a foundation of being told that you are inferior. When you have an inferiority complex, and I don't have one, I was educated in a certain way. Don't misconstrue. When you have an inferiority complex, you tend to overcompensate. So when I was raised in a community of African Americans surrounded by people that like to overcompensate, I developed certain habits. Just like, what's a good example? A good example of African American culture is using the term, and I don't know if it's antiquated now because I'm old, is that's bold. If someone does something wrong or does something that infringes on your relationship with them, the response was usually, that's bold. That is a part of the African American culture. It has nothing to do with the terminology of bold as a word. You don't even know what I mean in the context of bold. But it is understood that if I had a sandwich and you walked over like Debo from Friday and you grabbed my sandwich and you bit into it and ate it, I'd be like, man, that's bold. I don't even understand why you would do me like that. You could at least just ask. I would have shared my sandwich with you. That's culture. So it's from that I can stand as a proof that I myself don't have a superiority complex, but I can embody some of the principles from it through my education. And that is the foundation of what African Americans are fussing about when it comes to institutional racism and racial prejudice by Europeans that they consider that which they say does not exist, but through their actions. Because one thing about Europeans that they don't want to understand when it comes to the African Americans saying, oh, some Caucasians are racist, and I get sick and tired of dealing with racist Caucasians. One thing that they don't understand is the reason why we know that some Caucasians is racist is because we know a lot of them are not. And we don't understand why the majority of the non-racist Caucasians feel it necessary to defend the ones that are. That's what we don't get. If an African American is shot by a police officer because the police officer was racist, we know they're racist. We know you're not racist. We don't understand why you non-racist Caucasians are constantly protecting your racist Caucasians. That's conflict. Hey, it's conflict right there. You answer that question, and then you can set the country in the correct direction with the correct momentum. But anyway, alphanumeric. Alphanumeric is actually a term that we use to describe our syntax, all of our letters and all of our numbers. And there's a lot of them. So there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, I believe it's this way, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. This is the alphabet. The alphabet. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 characters in the alphabet. 26 characters in the alphabet. Numeric is our number system. There are 10 basic symbols that we use in our Dewey Decimal System for our numerical characters. They are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 characters in our numerical numbering system. What is the relevance of this? I hate with a passion. Okay, before I tell you what I hate, because I probably should have started a sentence like that, I'm going to explain something to you. Creativity, logic. Creativity, logic. This is art. This is science. I hate, with a passion, people that try to make logic creativity. I don't think, personally, that there is anything wrong with science being an art. I don't think that a discipline of logic cannot be defined as an art. But the other direction is wrong. It's flat out wrong. And this is the reason why. If I want to draw a picture, I struggle with drawing. If I want to draw something, I have to know how to draw it, right? That means that I have to have a knowledge set that allows me to draw it. That means that I have to have discipline to be able to put principles on paper that will allow me to achieve my goal. So I need a solid foundation of logic to be able to create something artistic. However, if my foundation of logic is as abstract as my foundation in art, then my image will be too abstract to describe properly, so that you, a logical being, looking at it and perceiving it from a position of logic, will be able to perceive it correctly. And that is where we fail in our society, because we've allowed ourselves to be taught that logic is illogical. It's not. Religion is illogical, but logic is not. Foundation science is logic. It's not creativity. Creativity is acceptable in science, and that's the reason why scientists will never tell someone that their rights to believe in God are invalid. But they will tell you that it is not acceptable for you to create principles that will govern a society based on your opinion. Like, gay men should be imprisoned because homosexuality is something that God doesn't agree with. When God has never come down from the sky and said, hey, lock up all the gays, right? Nature don't care because nature created gays. So, without rambling too much, this is the foundation. Now, understanding this foundation, Math is the language of the human mind. Math is the language of the human mind, not this. And hopefully today I'm going to show you a proof to prove it. Any number plus any number is the same as moving from this number in the right direction. Any negative number minus any number is the same as moving from this position to this direction, right? Because I have -1 here, I can have -2 here, I can have -3 here. I will expand on this later. This is just the foundation. Say this with me. 0, right? 1. Now, this is art. This is logic. Say this with me. A. What is the pronunciation of A? And remember, I don't spell very well. So a lot of the syntax that I will be using will be wrong because my foundation is wrong. Now, A produces the ah sound. B produces the buh sound. C produces the cuh sound. D produces the duh sound. They all create sounds, right? What is the numerical character in acoustics for 0? Z, E, R, O, right? It takes 4 letters, 4 characters to represent this one character. So if we allowed our math to stay in our language, then we would have to do problems like this. 0 plus 1 equals 1. It's too much work, right? It's way too much work. And it's not as intuitive. For example, 4, and I know you can't see these, I'm just doing it because it makes the video more interesting. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Oh, I gotta spell 9. Can't be lazy. N-I-N-E, right? So 4 plus 5 equals 9. 0 plus 1 equals 1. I probably don't need the actual symbol for equal right there. 0 plus 1 equals 1. 4 plus 5 equals 9. It's not intuitive. It's not intuitive at all. There is a principle in mathematics that I'm going to show you that I believe helps with the understanding of the difference between syntax and numerical characters and why we have separated them in our education system to help facilitate learning. The Roman numerals were 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and then 9. Have you ever wondered why the Roman numerals were written this way? Have you ever wondered why there was never a character for 0 in the number numerals? The Roman numerals, sorry. Well, it's simple. Roman culture didn't believe in 0. They did not believe in nothingness. They never treated it as a value that was true in their society. Their character system was intended in a way to make the language of math compatible with the language, the syntax of language itself. But there was a deeper principle that they may or may not have understood because we only know what we're taught. And that's one of the reasons why I created my 2 cents. So I can go into a little bit more depth in things that other people probably wouldn't want to go into. The nature of 5 as a character in a Dewey Decimal System. There are an infinite number of numbers in our existence. That means there are an infinite number of characters which can be used to describe a number. That is the foundation of algebra. X equals 7 is defined like this character is unknown for the value you're trying to find in an algebraic expression. So I could technically go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, etc., etc. So 9 plus 2 would equal this symbol. And I didn't properly recreate it. It looks more like that. So now we're confused. Is it 10 or is it 12? It must be 12, but your 12 is wrong. So the Dewey Decimal System uses set theory, which allows ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. I think it's millions next. The Dewey Decimal System uses set theory, which allows for the reusing of a finite number of characters to describe an infinite set of characters. So we use our 10 numerical characters, because 9 plus 1, 0 is the character 0, but as a numerical image, it is one of the 10. So 0 through 9 gives us 10 characters we can use to describe everything. So then 9 plus 2 becomes 11. Now, the fascinating nature of 5 is that any number in a set. Okay, how am I going to say this? Okay, any numerical character. This is the proof. Any numerical character in a set of 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say it this way. This number plus any number that is less than it. It should say any number that's less than 5. 5, I think it's this way. 5 plus any number that's less than it equals any number less than 9. I think that's right. I think I got the logic correct behind that. 5 plus 4 equals 9. 5 plus 3 equals 8. 5 plus 2 equals 7. And 5 plus 1 equals 6. So what this means is that every evaluation of this principle will always end with a number here. The same is true for all ascending values. So once you move to the tens place, same principle applies. Any number 50 plus any number that is less than 50 will always equal a value less than 99. Fairly confident of that. I'm probably wrong, not in my understanding, but in my creativity, my A, B, C, etc. A lot of the problems we have in our society is the fact that people like to argue about semantics instead of trying to understand the principle that has been put in front of us. So maybe what I'm saying is inaccurate. Maybe the approach that I'm taking to educate you as the student is wrong. And this brings me to one of the most important components of why this is the foundation of the proof in my 2 cents. because it is the responsibility of the educators and the leaders to be the first ones to admit wrong or error in our culture. But because Christianity has taught us that wrong people go to hell, we are too afraid to humble ourselves enough to admit when we're wrong. And when we encounter someone like Paul Emerson that actually takes pride in being able to be in a position to acknowledge, I do not understand something, so now I have something that I should build on and work on as a self-development tool, we look at them as if there is something wrong with those individuals because we don't understand why they want to go to hell. Sad reality is that if hell is a place of fire and ash that wrong people go to, and you are a human being which is incapable of absolute perfection, we are all destined for hell. Now, if you're wise enough to understand that you are already destined for hell, then you won't waste your life being afraid to be ignorant, because we are born ignorant. We unconditionally love the most ignorant. We unconditionally love the most ignorant members of our society, because those are our babies. Our infants are the most ignorant people on our planet. But they are also the wisest, because they are fully capable of utilizing every aspect of experience that they have when they get here. All of it, 100%. When they're laying in their crib and they're lonely, they cry. When they're hungry, they cry. When they need to be changed, they cry. So they learn very quick on how to utilize what nature has given them to be able to maintain their homeostasis in a way that the average 30, 40, and 50-year-old eventually cannot. So you go from being absolutely capable of controlling and regulating yourself to being subjected to a society that makes it near impossible for you to have the same level of control over your existence as the infants do in our society. And with that, I'm going to end my rant, because I need to figure out where I'm going to go from here. I need to watch this video back and then laugh at it, because I know I made a lot of mistakes and errors, but you have to start somewhere. So as always, my name is Paul Emerson. That is my 2 cents.